I knew how the room worked the moment I stepped inside. The air had that careful temperature families choose when they want nothing to boil over. Everyone was already performing their best version of calm. My sister was radiant in a way that made the walls feel temporary, like they existed only to frame her. People hugged me with the politeness reserved for someone who had been gone long enough to become abstract. My kids stood close, fingers laced through mine, looking around with that mix of curiosity and caution they'd learned early. They weren't misbehaving. They never did. They had learned how to be small when rooms got ceremonial. The usher checked our names, hesitated, then gestured us toward the back. I was about to say something, nothing sharp, just a clarification, when my mom leaned in. Her perfume arrived before her voice. "We didn't want the photos to look messy," she whispered, as if explaining a seating algorithm, not a choice. I smiled because that what kept things moving. I smiled because my kids were watching. We took our places behind a pillar that swallowed half the aisle. From there, we could see everything and be seen by almost no one. It was a familiar angle. The ceremony unfolded with practiced grace. People stood at the right times. Laughter landed on cue. When my sister walked down the aisle, the applause was generous and clean. I clapped too, careful not to clap louder than anyone else. My kids watched her dress with reverence, the way you watch something you're told matters. While vows were exchanged, my mind wandered, not dramatically, just enough to register patterns. Who sat where? Who leaned forward? Who checked their phone? I remembered holidays rearranged so our arrival didn't complicate things. Group photos where my kids were placed on the edges, just in case. The story had always been logistics. Logistics were the family's favorite language. Afterward, at the reception, the room softened. Wine loosened shoulders. The kids were given sparkling water in tall glasses and told how grown up they looked. I stood near the wall, my back lightly touching it, as if anchoring myself. The toasts began. Stories were told about my sister's generosity, her steadiness, how she'd always been the one who held things together. I nodded at the right moments. No one mentioned me. That was fine. Omission had become a kind of punctuation in my life, noticeable, but expected. When applause rose for the final time, I felt a calm settle in. Not anger, something cleaner. Like a decision that had been waiting for permission. The gift table sat near the exit, draped in linen. Envelopes stacked with careful symmetry. I waited until the room surged toward the bar, until the band tested a microphone. I moved without rush. No one stopped me. No one ever did. The check was easy to spot. Thicker envelope, my name handwritten with my sister's familiar loop. $10,000. A generous gift, everyone would say. Evidence, I thought, is only evidence if someone sees it. I took a photo. Just the name. Sent it to a number I'd saved years ago and never used. No caption. No explanation. Then I placed the envelope back exactly where it had been, minus its contents, and walked out. Outside, the night air felt honest. My kids didn't ask questions. They buckled in and stared out the windows, the way kids do when they sense something important but not dangerous. I started the car and pulled away. 20 minutes later, red taillights swerved behind me, too close, too urgent. I checked the mirror and saw my sister's car, hazard lights flashing like a confession. She was driving the way people do when they're used to being heard immediately. I pulled over. She jumped out before her car stopped fully, heels sinking into gravel. Her face was pale, eyes sharp with a panic she hadn't shown all night. "What did you do?" she asked, breathless. "Not hello. Not are you okay?" I opened my door and stepped out, closing it gently behind me. The kids stayed inside. I could feel them watching. "I left," I said. "That's not." She stopped herself, swallowed. The check is gone." I nodded once. "You can't do this," she said. "This is my wedding." I looked at her, really looked. She was still wearing her reception dress, now wrinkled at the waist. The authority she'd carried all day was slipping, replaced by something raw and unpracticed. Without thinking twice, I took out my phone and called the number in my head 100 times. The line connected on the second ring. I said my name. I said my sister's name. I said, "I need you to explain the policy to her." When I handed her the phone, she hesitated. Then she listened. Her shoulders dropped with each sentence she heard. The kind of drop that happens when rules enter the room and no one can argue with them. She handed the phone back without meeting my eyes. "They're saying if you cash it, It's considered repayment, she said quietly. Not a gift. I nodded again. That's correct. But Mom doesn't decide that. I finished. They do. Silence stretched between us. The band's music drifted faintly from the venue, cheerful and oblivious. You embarrassed me, she said finally, and there it was, the real injury. I considered correcting her. I didn't. I need that money back, she said. Tonight, I thought of the back row, of the whisper, of the years my kids had learned how to fold themselves smaller so pictures could stay clean. I needed something different, I said. Tonight. She looked past me, at the car, at the silhouettes of my kids. Something shifted in her expression, not remorse, exactly. Recognition, maybe. Or calculation. What are you going to tell them? She asked. The truth. I said. That sometimes people move you to the back because it's easier for them. And sometimes you choose where you stand next. I got back into the car. She didn't follow. As I pulled away, I saw her in the mirror, standing alone on the shoulder, dress catching the headlights of passing cars. The road ahead was dark but open. My hands were steady on the wheel. I didn't feel victorious. I felt aligned. There was a cost to that alignment, and I knew it. But for the first time in a long while, it was a cost I had chosen. Behind us, the music kept playing. Ahead, the night widened.